Hi everyone, this is Tevi, live from Franklin. So we are continuing our 1950s unit. We looked at the Cold War and the Korean War. We looked at the home front and did our skits. And so guys, there's something else happening in the 1950s that we need to pay attention to. So this is the Civil Rights Movement. And think about your own civil rights and how you've always had them. They're the rights for all people to have equal treatment under the law. And which groups have been denied civil rights in U.S. history. We're looking at the big theme of what causes societies to change. And specifically, guys, why do you think the civil rights movement made gains in post-war America? So this will be a short introduction. I do not have guided notes. I know you need those, so I will make some up for you for later on this week. So just try and follow along and I'll cue you guys on some important things to write down. So going back a ways, right, our course started in Reconstruction. And so these are the things that limited civil rights for African Americans. The Black Codes, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 tried to make everyone full U.S. citizens. And then this is from long ago, guys, the 14th and 15th Amendment. You're trying to treat people equally under the law, right? Because now we have freed slaves and trying to make sure they all vote. But as we know, this didn't always happen. We had terror and violence from the Ku Klux Klan. And guys, remember you did some research on the Jim Crow laws and how ridiculous some of those sounded. So guys, here under Jim Crow laws, just remember that these segregated buses, trains, schools, restaurants, pools, parks, and really all other public facilities. And I do want you guys to know Plessy versus Ferguson, so just jot down that this actually was in 1896. And it ruled, guys, separate but equal as a doctrine. So laws that segregated African Americans were permitted as long as equal facilities were provided for them. So guys, under Plessy versus Ferguson, just make sure that's what made segregation legal. As long as there were equal facilities provided for blacks, they were allowed to separate really everything. Remember, all the way down to baseball and billiards, water fountains. So here's the picture of the separate water fountains and the transportation, guys, this colored waiting room sign here. All the transportation was separate, supposedly, but equal. So what were the origins of the Civil Rights Movement? You guys definitely should know the NAACP. Know what it stands for, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. You should know that it started in 1909, and it definitely tried to get involved in court cases to overturn segregation. So guys, between the years of 1909 and the 1950s, the Supreme Court did overturn segregation in a few cases. Here under NAACP, just put down one of the cases. It was in 1950, and it ruled that state law schools had to admit black students, even if there were other black law schools. So it kind of shows that the Supreme Court is going to be on the side of the African American Civil Rights Movement. But the big one I want you to really know is Brown versus Board of Ed. So this is 1954, and I'm just going to show you guys a picture of Thurgood Marshall. His nickname is Mr. Civil Rights. So under Thurgood Marshall here, guys, on the side, just put down a little bit of his background. He went to law school. He worked for the NAACP and won 29 out of 32 cases to end segregation. He actually was the first African American to serve on the Supreme Court. That is huge. And he was a big voice on the Supreme Court to support civil rights. He's known for saying, the Constitution was not perfect because it had accepted slavery, but he did say the true miracle of the Constitution was not the birth of the Constitution, but its life, right? So he worked hard on how to interpret the Constitution in favor of his people. Okay, guys, so who is Linda Brown? So she was a young African-American girl who was denied admission to her neighborhood school in Topeka, Kansas. because of her race, right? So she was told to attend an all-black school across town. So with the help of the NAACP and Thurgood Marshall, her parents sued the Topeka school board. And so this big decision was put forth, guys, on May 17th of 54. It ruled unanimously that segregation in public schools was unconstitutional and violated the 14th Amendment. The Chief Justice, guys, Earl Warren, said, quote, "In the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal." So they did say to proceed with all deliberate speed, and this perhaps may not have been wise, because what happened is a huge wave of Southern resistance. And so this decision, guys, angered many white Southerners who became very determined to defend segregation, regardless of what the Supreme Court ruled. And so, guys, from 54, not until 1969 did all schools integrate. So it took a long time. So this is Thurgood Marshall, guys, Mr. Civil Rights. And these are the children, guys, in the Brown versus Board of Education case. Their case has led to the Supreme Court decreeing that public schools could not be segregated. And here's an example of the Southern resistance, you know, the police officers using dogs against peaceful black demonstrators. So lastly, guys, a couple things for a bonus would be if you want to look up who Senator Harry F. Byrd of Virginia, you know, what was his stand. So it's B-Y-R-D, Harry Byrd. You can look him up. And also, I wouldn't mind if one of you guys looked up the Southern Manifesto. So it's 1956. What was the Southern Manifesto? So those are two little bonus questions for you all. This is Tevi signing off, and we will go through this tomorrow in your groups. Good night, everybody.